Now that's how you do a debut. These are my assorted thoughts on the January 13th, 2025 WWE RAW. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube and the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. From Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and of course, ring that bell for notifications to get all my wrestling hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, WWE Premium Live Event prediction videos and review videos, wrestling opinion pieces, and of course, assorted thoughts on SmackDown and Raw. Now, I'm recording this the 15th of January, 2025. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or a little bit before it. So I've seen Raw from last night, the second Raw that was on Netflix. And it's assorted thoughts on this specific show, but I think generally, thematically, this show had something to accomplish. The first show was on Netflix was to introduce the world of the WWE, some of the big stars, make a big spectacle for the potentially new audience. This show was designed to show them what they might expect on a regular week of Raw, or at least some of the aspects of it. Now, before I get into the actual show, I'm going to make an observation about watching it on Netflix here in Canada. Now, here in Canada and in the United States, everything of WWE is on Netflix. That's one thing. But the other thing is, when it comes to Raw, I don't think they've sold the commercial space, the commercial slots yet. So when the show goes to commercial, for everyone in the States who doesn't have the extended tier or whatever that is, it just comes right back. Instead of going to commercial, it comes right back, which means we got some interesting things. We got a Chad Gable promo segment before his match with Penta. We're going to talk about that match in a bit. We got Jackie Redmond doing backstage interviews. It was an interview, I think, with the Pure Fusion Collective. Not that I necessarily need to see that interview, but the Gable promo was really good. Also, when a commercial break happens during a match, the match continues with the announcing. And now this is great when you're watching it without the commercials. But the thing I'm really thinking is, having seen WWE SmackDown and Raw live, this is great for the live audience, because usually when the show goes to commercial break, even if someone's introduction had just happened, they're standing in the middle of the ring, and all of a sudden the lights go down, you're watching some stuff on the screen, and then they just pace around for a minute and a half or 2 minutes during the commercials, and then eventually the lights come back up and they're there. Here you actually get something. Here the show goes on for the people in the arena who aren't watching commercials because they paid a lot of money for their tickets. So I think this is really cool. And if you're in the States and you have the option to get a better tier, watch it without the commercials, I recommend doing that. But of course, you do you. Now let's get into Penta. Everyone who follows the internet wrestling buzz, or who used to or still watches AEW or used to watch it, knew that Chad Gable's mystery opponent was Penta, former AEW star luchador from Mexico. Now, I'd heard a number of people talk about Penta, but I hadn't actually seen him myself, and I just saw him like, wow, what a great presentation. I can't believe this guy wasn't in WWE from the start. An excellent presentation. He comes out, and yes, they did it in San Jose, California, so some of the crowd were probably more familiar with him, and they knew some of his catchphrases. And he came out, unlike the Motor City Machine Guns, who only the people who watched the Indies knew. A good chunk of this crowd definitely knew him. They were saying his catchphrases. They were teaching other people to do it as well, too. He was over from the start, and Chad Gable was the perfect opponent. They had an excellent match. Of course, Pento won, but it was rough. Gable had him in a submission, and he reversed the submission. He had I think they call it the arm breaker. I'm not really sure. That's like a new move that I guess he had done before. They had a Mexican destroyer, which I think is known elsewhere as a Canadian destroyer, but I guess he's from Mexico, so it makes sense. And he finished off Gable with what looked like a package pile driver, which is now a dangerous banned move. It put Cody Rhodes out for a few weeks when Owens did it, put Randy Orton out with a different pile driver. But they said, no, they called it the Penta driver. So obviously it's a little bit different than the package pile driver. Maybe there's one little thing different, but it's pretty much the same thing, but it doesn't have this sort of danger, but it definitely has a lot of impact in the match. It did away with Gable. Maybe there'll be a rematch with Gable. I think this was a great start. And he did a promo after it where, looked like it was going on a bit long. Also, this was just one segment uninterrupted by commercials. Not that that mattered to me. That was the perfect way to do it. He gave a heartfelt promo. The guy can do promos in English and in Spanish. He can wrestle. He's got the look. He's a real lucha. I can't believe this guy wasn't in WWE before. Also, I think debuting him on this show was good because one of the things I think they were trying to do with the show was showcase the potential quality of matches, as was the case with the finals in the Women's Intercontinental Championship tournament. Now, this was a great match. Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai. At one point, they went on the floor at one point. They did this. They went off the apron to the ground with a move, and it looked really rough. It sort of changed the tone for the match. Took him a while during the commercial breaks. It took him a while to get up. You could see, but eventually they get back into the ring. They both earned it. Now, I was really hoping from the start that Dakota Kai was going to win, but I am in no way upset that Lyra Valkyria got the victory. She really deserved it, and especially after going all the way to the finals in one tournament, Queen of the Ring, and losing also, especially taking that really rough-looking Annihilator from Nia Jax. It's almost like she was owed. And I thought that maybe this is the way they're going to bring Becky Lynch back. Maybe Lynch is going to, congratulate her and then have a feud with her. I don't know. Lyra Valkyria really wasn't overall that well used this year after the Queen of the Ring tournament. So I'm glad she got this, even though I was going for Dakota Kai. Maybe Dakota will get it in the future, but Lyra definitely earned this. Also, I love the sign of respect they showed for each other at the end, and this was an incredible match. And in the typically great, though surprisingly short, Sami Zayn match, Sami Zayn beat The Miz. Not only that, the real takeaway, he beat him with the Blue Thunder Bomb. Yes, I mean, The Miz is a great guy, but putting over Sami Zayn is sometimes something superstars do all the time. But let's look at that again. Putting over the Blue Thunder Bomb as a finisher, wow, good job, Miz. Obviously, Sami's getting a victory back after losing a couple of matches, maybe against Drew, but I think winning with that move just feels good. I enjoyed Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser as much as you could enjoy a match you've already seen 20 times before. Still, it was a banger, and I think Sheamus finally put an end to that feud with a victory. Maybe he's going to go after Breakker now. Thinking of the new fans, they just saw Sami Zayn with a great victory, and they saw a really good match that they've had on the past several times on the past few months, always on Raw, once on the PLE. But the fact that the new audience might have not seen it, this sort of introduced them to what people have been watching on Raw, and it definitely was a quality match. And of course, it also set up a match between Sheamus and Braun Breakker for Saturday night's main event. And then we have our main event, Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. Now, they're showcasing what people can expect to see on Raw. I think this is finally the end of Damian Priest's involvement with the Judgment Day storyline. But also, it was, last week, for the new audience, last week on Raw, they saw the Tribal Combat match. This also has no rules, but it's a street fight. So it's a different type of match. And it was a really wild match. There was the spot in the audience off the entranceway, which led to Balor getting the neck brace on, being stretchered off. We saw the stretchering process, the beginning of that, again, during one of those commercial breaks that other people were watching commercials. So it was interesting to see the process that way. There were table spots, 2 of them, and eventually Priest won. So good. I think that's going to put an end to that feud, at least for now. We also showed the new audience what a promo train kicking off the show was like. And I love CM Punk's bit at the beginning, and I absolutely adored his frustration at Seth's music hitting. I think he even said to the ref, "Why can't I get interrupted by Rhea Ripley?" He showed his disdain the whole time Seth was talking when he was talking back to Seth. And then Drew McIntyre. I liked McIntyre's outfit, which is something I've never really noticed on. But the main purpose of all of this, Drew, was not to set up a fight for that night, as these things sometimes do. It was to showcase 3 of the top promo guys on the show, and of course to establish that all 3 of these top stars are going to be in the Royal Rumble, joining Roman Reigns and John Cena. So that's 5 top stars in the men's Royal Rumble match. The women's Rumble is not quite as stacked yet. And one person who's not going to be in it is Rhea Ripley. Although I like the fact that when she came out to do her promo, she wasn't interrupted by Liv Morgan. Liv was there, but it seems like Liv has moved on. Possibly this, maybe she's going to be in the Royal Rumble as well too. But of course, they had to have someone come out and interrupt her, but it wasn't her next opponent, I don't think. It was Nia Jax, followed, of course, by Bayley. I say, of course, because if you were watching something else other than commercials during the commercial break, you would have already seen an interview with Bayley, who was there. It's the Bay Area. Yeah, Bayley. That's, I think, where she gets the name from. But yeah, so Nia came in, Bayley came out. So it's basically taking a SmackDown storyline, showcasing it for people who can now watch SmackDown on Netflix if they're out of the US, or on USA Network if they're in the US, showcasing that storyline, also giving Rhea something to do, a chance to come out, get interrupted, but without necessarily setting up her next feud. Also, Nia is going to be in the Women's Royal Rumble match. Bayley, she didn't say she was, but winning it back-to-back is rare. I don't even know if a woman's ever won it back-to-back. I think with men, it's Austin, Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, and now Cody Rhodes. I think it's unlikely Bayley's going to be in it. At this point, I don't think she wants to go in it because she thinks she's going to beat Tiffany Stratton. So we'll see where that goes, but this was a good addition to the show. And we set up another match for Saturday night's main event. The World Heavyweight Champion, the Ring General Gunther, defending against Jey Uso. I mean, this is a good match. I don't think Jey Uso is going to win, but I think he's a good opponent. He really sold emotionally why he wants to do this. Even like taking what Gunther said to heart and then saying, no, he's going to go ahead and do it. Yeah, they fought for the IC title, but I think his brother interfered. Jimmy, when he was heel, when they were fighting, he interfered with that. I don't know if they fought. I think they just fought once. But so it's not like Gunther really beat Jey fair and square. I think he's going to win this time, but it gives another potentially banger of a match, or at least one with a great entrance for Saturday night's main event. So more power to them. As far as being part of this show, it was a fun promo segment, and it really showcased what Raw does on a week-to-week basis. So these were my assorted thoughts on the January 13th, 2025 WWE RAW, aka the second Raw on Netflix, and the one that's really getting the formula right. I guess I already said it, but in conclusion, excellent match quality. This was, the last one was sort of a showcase for Raw with some important matches. This was the real, for me anyways, for the hardcore fans or the fans who have been around for a while, this was the real debut of the Raw that we know progressed a bit on Netflix. Excellent matches, some good promos. Very glad I saw this show. What did you think? Let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Voice Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram, at Silo Wrestling on X, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. I will be back possibly with a wrestling opinion video. If not, I'll have one next week, which will be a predictions video, but I'll definitely be back with my assorted thoughts on the next SmackDown. For Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.